Hi everybody, I'm Ryan. Today we're going to do a sideboard guide for blue-white control in Pioneer. We're going to look at the top 10 most popular decks according to MTG Goldfish in Pioneer, and I'm going to explain how I sideboard against each one of those, including explanations on how I sideboard against each one of those. Hopefully after I talk about the top 10 decks, it'll be clear when certain cards come out and when certain cards come in, so you can kind of fill in the blanks for deck number 11 and on. Let's do it. The most popular deck in Pioneer is red-black midrange. Against red-black midrange, we are going to bring in our Angels. We are going to bring in Elspeth, mostly as like threats and ways to control the board. Elspeth is very hard for red-black to be able to answer, especially without already applying a ton of pressure. And we're going to bring in Aether Gust to interrupt these red spells. Like Fable the Mirror Breakers, like they're probably our best target, but really slowing down our opponent at all and letting us get all set up is one of the best things that we can do. We're also going to bring in Dream Trawler. Rakdos is really the reason we have Dream Trawler in our sideboard. If you resolve it, the game is pretty much over. You can protect it by discarding cards, which means Rakdos can literally never answer it, and it means we can draw 2 cards a turn and apply a ton of pressure and be able to gain life so it can race. Like it's exactly what you want against Rakdos every single time. We are going to be cutting the temporary lockdowns. It doesn't really hit that many cards against Rakdos, especially any that really matter. We're going to be taking out March of Otherworldly Light, mostly because it, like, while being able to hit a Shieldred for a bunch of mana is probably valuable, we have plenty of other answers to the things that March actually hits. And we're going to be cutting 1 Dovin's Veto. Dovin's Veto is only fine against Rakdos. You know, being able to hit Fable the Mirror Breaker is really cool, but we don't want all of our cards to be that narrow. So this is how I sideboard against Rakdos midrange. The second most popular deck is the green Devotion deck. Against the green Devotion deck, we are obviously bringing in Aether Gust. We are bringing in our Dovin's Vetoes for the Storm the Festivals and for the Planeswalkers. And being able to hit an early game Wolfwillow Haven isn't bad either. Also, like Elspeth in the matchup, it's a way to stabilize the board after they already have a bunch of creatures, and it can actually snipe a bunch of creatures all at once. I'm also a big fan of Temporary Lockdown in the matchup as well, because it hits all of the mana ramp. It hits Wolfwillow Haven and the Dorks, and can actually like neuter a lot of hands. There's also an argument for Rest in Peace, but I'm not a giant fan of bringing in Rest in Peace. It stops things from happening when you destroy Cavalier and stops Storm of the Festival, so it might be worth it. I don't genuinely bring it in. That being said, you have to understand that like while this is a sort of creature ramp deck, how they beat us is through the Planeswalkers. I'm not a fan of Shark Typhoon. Like, we aren't looking to block with this card. There's no reasonable way that we'll be able to attack with the Shark. I'd rather just like try to counter everything as much as possible. I think it's just really, really hard to make Shark Typhoon any good. On top of that, I don't actually think Supreme Verdict is very good. Supreme Verdict is this like weird situation where like all of the creatures that you want to kill with Supreme Verdict, but besides like the mana dorks, do something when they die that we don't really want them to do. And so like very often we just Supreme Verdict, and then they just like Storm the Festival and like play some creatures, use their Planeswalkers, and the next turn, they've rebuilt from Verdict very easily, and I'm not interested in playing that game. This is how I sideboard against Mono Green. The third most popular deck is Red-Green Aggro, Red-Green Midrange, Red-Green Boats, whatever you want to call it. It's the Red-Green creature deck that exists on the back of Asika's Chariot and Sky Sovereign. Against this deck, we are bringing in Lyra Dawnbringer as we do, and Baneslayer Angel as we do against these creature decks. Aether Gust is obviously great against the red and green deck. I'm a fan of Elspeth. You know, be able to kill the larger creatures and be able to block these smaller creatures. Most of the things they have don't have trample besides a flipped Reckless Stormseeker. And I'm a reasonable fan of Temporary Lockdown. I think Temporary Lockdown is this like weird card because like it hits the Dorks, it hits Werewolf Pack Leader, and hits tokens from Asika's Chariot. In that sense, I think it's worth it because those are all really valuable things. But a lot of their cards aren't affected by Temporary Lockdown, so it's not as good as it is in a lot of other situations. That being said, I don't really care about the vehicles to speak of. We have other counter magic. We're not super worried about it, so I take out the Dovin's Vetoes. I'm not a fan of Memory Deluge because they're an aggro deck. Like, it's important that we're doing things all the time. Same can be said for Behold the Multiverse. And I like just Shaven Assault coming. There's pretty unlikely we're going to have the mana just hanging out to foretell it. So it's just a cancel and like, That's how I sideboard against red-green vehicles. The fourth most popular deck is Lotus Combo, Hidden Strings Combo, whatever you want to call it. This is the premier combo deck of the format and have a lot of things that we like absolutely need to counter. And we're going to bring in as many counterspells as we can. We're going to bring in Aether Gust. There are green cards in the matchup that you wouldn't mind countering. We're going to bring in Narset's Reversal. Narset's Reversal, like, is good against a lot of stuff in their deck because they have a lot of tutors, and that's really dope for us. But if they Thought Distortion us, and we cast Narset's Reversal on Thought Distortion, and really the Postborn matchup is a lot about Thought Distortion, we get to reversal that, and then they get Thought Distortion, which is insane. We're going to bring in our Dovin's Vetoes, very obviously, like, help us interrupt the combo. We're going to bring in our Missile Disputes, obviously, interrupt the combo. Rest in Peace is also solid because, like, it makes it harder for them to combo. And Hullbreaker Horror is very good because, we're trying to slow them down, trying to get to that late game. And then when we do get to that late game, then everything we cast can help interrupt the combo. It doesn't necessarily have to be a counterspell. And we're going to bring out our removal. We're bringing out March. We are bringing out Temporary Lockdown. We are bringing out Supreme Verdict. We are bringing out Farewell. And I just like Shaven a Wandering Emperor. You aren't going to remove things. It's mostly like a card you try to win with in the late game. And I'm okay with having one less. That's how we sideboard against Lotus Combo. The 5th most popular deck is the Mirror Match, is the Control Mirror. So we are going to be bringing in threats, and we are going to be bringing in counter magic. So as much counter magic as possible, as many threats as possible, because we just want to bury our opponent, and we want to win these counter wars. We want to be the person with the cards that actually do things. And we're going to be bringing out a lot of our removal because our game plan is not to deal with stuff after it already enters the battlefield. Their game plan is to win counter wars. Especially since Wandering Emperor still exists in our deck to deal with these cards if we really need them to. Oh, but similar to our Lotus matchup, I do like shaving one Wandering Emperor. This is how I sideboard in the Mirror Match. The 6th most popular deck is the Selesnya Angels deck, which is our dream matchup. Against the Selesnya Angels deck, we bring in Temporary Lockdown. They have plenty of 2-mana things that we can take out with Temporary Lockdown that are super relevant. We can control the air with Angels of our own. But other than that, I don't want to bring anything else in because we are pretty main decked for this matchup. While Dovin's Veto is really solid against Kalos, Reconstruction, and Collecting Company, we have plenty of counter magic for that in our deck. So I like Shaven and Dovin's Veto and a Shark Typhoon. Shark Typhoon's fine, but often their Angels are so big we can only chump block with the Sharks. Sometimes we'll be able to snipe something with Shark Typhoon, so I like just shaving one. And that's how I sideboard against Angels. The 7th most popular deck is Mono White Humans. This is kind of a bad matchup because they can get in underneath us, which is really frustrating. Against Mono White Humans, we are obviously bringing in our 4th Temporary Lockdown. We are bringing in our Angels to be able to block just like against Angels. We are bringing out Dovin's Veto because it doesn't really hit anything that matters. And we're bringing out a Memory Deluge. We really just got to reduce the cards in our deck that don't do anything. And Memory Deluge, when you cast it, doesn't do anything. If we're casting a Memory Deluge safely and not for desperation, then it probably means we've won the game anyway. But Memory Deluge is fine to be able to like really dig for a board wipe. So like we can leave one in. The size sideboard against White Humans. The 8th most popular deck is It Phoenix? Against Phoenix, we are bringing in Rest in Peace. It shuts down, the Phoenix combo. It shuts down Temporal Trespass. It means they can't flashback the thing that makes them cast 2 cards. It shuts down Treasure Cruise. Like, it's just insane against Phoenix. Bringing in Mystical Dispute to see if we can win some of those counter wars or counter those big mana draw spells like the 3 mana look at 5 cards, like put 2 in your hand, 1, like that card's insane. We're bringing in the Angels because the Angels are really good at controlling the air. It means Phoenix doesn't really matter and they have to answer it with exactly a Lightning Axe or it just sits. We're bringing in Dovin's Veto because again, it's mostly instants and sorceries. Being able to counter those instants and sorceries without any response is very good. We are going to bring out Temporary Lockdown. It doesn't really hit much in their deck. It can hit the 2 mana 1/3, but that's pretty much it. So I'm all set. We're bringing out Farewell. It's just too much mana. It's just going to get Spell Pierced. Like, it isn't good. We're going to bring out Absorb. Really, in this matchup, it's just cancel. Like, it's not a life total race. And 3 mana is not mana efficient to be able to counter that stuff. Further, we're going to shave a Saw It Coming. Saw It Coming is a little bit better than Absorb in this matchup because, we can just foretell it. And it becomes a 2 mana counter something. But it isn't much better. This size sideboard against Phoenix. The 9th most popular deck is Abzan Greecefang. Against Abzan Greecefang, we are bringing in our Rest in Peace. We are bringing in our Angels. The Rest in Peace is obvious. It means that Greecefang can't combo. Angels are kind of neat because it means if they attack with Parhealing, we're still kind of okay because they only get 4/4 Angels and ours are 5/5. So it's like, it gives us an extra turn or 2 to be able to deal with that. That being said, we're going to bring out the Temporary Lockdowns because it hits cards that actually just don't matter. And we're going to shave a Supreme Verdict because Supreme Verdict is only good after things have already gone wrong. Instead, we'd rather just play the counter game. This is how I sideboard against Abzan Greecefang. And the 10th and last most popular deck is the Fires of Invention deck, which isn't the deck I grind with, but is one of my favorite decks to play in Pioneer, by the way. We are going to bring in Dovin's Veto because it's really important we are able to counter especially the Enigmatic Incarnation and Fires of Invention, but also fine against Fable the Mirror Breaker and such. Same thing with Mystical Dispute. They have plenty of blue cards that we are happy countering. Aethergust is fine. They have plenty of green cards and some red cards that we are happy countering. And really, we're just trying to shut down everything that our opponent is doing is really the name of the game of this matchup. Now, we could overboard and bring in the Angels and bring in Elspeth and Dream Trawler maybe, but I'm not really interested in that. I would rather just play the normal control plan, kill them with a Shark Typhoon, counter all their stuff, move on with our lives. I'm going to bring out the Temporary Lockdown. It doesn't really hit anything besides 2-bit enchantments, which is really solid if you let a Incarnation resolve, but just don't let an Incarnation resolve. Like just say like you are the control deck. Like you can control in ways that you want to control in. And the reason I mentioned overboarding is we don't really want to take out anything else. However, I am totally okay with cutting the Behold the Multiverse because we can't flash it back like we can Memory Deluge. I'm okay with cutting a Wandering Emperor and a Shark Typhoon because the encounter magic is the most important thing in this matchup. This is how I sideboard against the Fires of Invention deck. Well, there you have how to sideboard against the top 10 most popular decks in Pioneer with blue-white control in Pioneer. If you like videos and want more videos like this, please be sure to like and subscribe. Check me out on social medias. Links are above me and in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.